Welcome back to the Capes and Tights podcast right here on capesandtights.com. I'm your host, Justin Soderberg. We welcome back Zack Kaplan to the podcast, his mighty return to the Capes and Tights podcast here to discuss his upcoming comics, Kill All Immortals, as well as The Midnight Shadows coming to Dark Horse Comics this year. Kill All Immortals comes in July to Dark Horse, and in October, The Midnight Shadows drops in trade paperback format over there at Dark Horse as well. But Zack is the mind behind books like Beyond Real, Mindset, Breakout, Metal Society, Forever Forward, Join the Future, The Lost City Explorers, Port of Earth, Eclipse, and so much more. Please check out Kill All Immortals when it drops in July, as well as make sure you pre-order with your local comic book shop for The Midnight Shadows, or actually any bookstores anywhere can actually get that as well. But this is Zack Kaplan talking Kill All Immortals and The Midnight Shadows here on the Capes and Tights podcast. Enjoy, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast, Zack. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How's the weather? Is it good? It's sunny here in Maine.
It's surprisingly gloomy in Southern California, but it's still been generally very nice. So it's good.
That's good. Yeah. It was funny. I brought my son to daycare.
We're at opposite ends of the country, I guess. If you're up in Maine, I'm down in Southern California. So
as far away as possible in the United States without you being in like a continental United States, I should say.
Yeah. Opposite ends. Yeah.
Or continuous. What is it? Is it continental or contiguous? Contiguous United States? How do you say that? Is that how do you say in the United States without not Alaska and not Hawaii?
I don't know. I don't know how you say that.
Contiguous United States?
Contiguous, yeah.
Yes,
it's the weirdest word that no one uses except when they want to talk about.
I honestly think the United States is probably the only people that use it.
Yes.
Everybody else is just part of the country. I don't know what you're talking about.
Contiguous.
But yes, it's nice. We dropped my son off this morning. It was like sunny, and then I went out and got like lunch, and it was gloomy, and then I went back outside to get something else, and it was sunny again. So I don't know. The weather can't make its mind up here in Maine. But well, we think it's summer here or spring. We don't know.
SoCal's no different. So sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's a little gloomy, but it's always kind of nice. So we got that.
You've been busy. You've been doing some work here. I mean, you got a lot of stuff to promote too. I mean, you got, we'll get into other things, but right off the top, I wanted to mention that the Beyond Real
the fourth issue just hit.
It just hit, and then the trade paperback's also being promoted now. So
so the fifth issue is coming in a couple of weeks for Beyond Real. That's the series finale essentially, and oh man, the final issue of Beyond Real has so many artists that are amazing. Obviously Fabiana Mascolo and Jordi Belair. Yeah. Jorge Corona, Liana Kangas, Luana Vecchio, Hassan Otsman Elhau is lettering. And yeah, it's just the finale just hits hard. I cannot wait for people who have been reading the series to see how it all ends and pulls together. And then, yeah, if you have been excited about the book and have or have not checked it out, the graphic novel's just around the corner in August, and we're collecting pre-orders for that. So, and I think it'll really be an amazing read to see all 7 artists kind of artwork all in one place.
It's one of those things that you lose. We have short-term memory nowadays, but like you lose some of that between issues, but having it all collected after reading all of them individually is really cool to see. And
this series for sure is definitely like we tried our best to make sure that each issue stands on its own as an experience each in and of itself, but obviously, since this is about a character who is traveling through different layers of a simulation and the art keeps changing, the ability to see that all collected is definitely going to be the most immersive kind of experience you could ask for.
What's kind of cool is I helped out my LCS owner, Paul Eaton, who owns Galactic Comics and Collectibles in Bangor, Maine. He had to go to his daughter's baton twirling competition on Free Comic Book Day, and so I took the bullet and I said I will come in and help you. He has an employee there that's great. He's wonderful. He's awesome. He just sometimes gets overwhelmed when it gets busy, and so I was there as a support structure. I run a restaurant. I used to run a restaurant, so I know what busy times are and so on and so forth. And one of the things we did was any of the leftover issues of Beyond Real #1 as well as Unnatural Order,
You
obviously.
gave them
But
away?
we gave them away. It's part of the free
Fantastic.
comic book day, and I think people
Yeah.
were kind of cool. So that's kind of a cool little thing that maybe if someone
Thank you
missed
so
that
much.
free issue.
That is amazing. That is amazing to hear that you guys did that, and that is really exciting. And I mean, I heard a lot of anecdotal information about other shops that when they gave it away, readers subscribed, and it was not the kind of book that would have been on their map, but they checked it out and they read the first issue and they were really, you know, excited and impressed. So that initiative that Vault did of giving issue 1 away worked to a lot of extent in terms of bringing in new readers to a book that they wouldn't have normally checked out. So that's great that shop, Galactic Comics, is that what it is?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, and it was cool. It was an awesome little thing there. And he had him on a little shelf. Honestly, it got more like coverage, I think, like visual coverage for people because it was a free. He opted. He doesn't charge for anything he was given for free, or free comic book day. So basically, any leftover free comic book day books, or he buys a collection as an FCBD book in the collection, he doesn't charge for it. He doesn't care if it went up in value. He's like, this is original purpose of this book was to give it away for free. And he treated Beyond Real and Unnatural Order in a very similar fashion. So as you like left the store, there was a little shelf on the bottom there that had like the leftover issues in it. So if you missed, you know, the first release day, it was still there for free. You could grab one on your way out. He's like, I'm not going to charge for it now. Weeks after we gave it away to everybody for free. Right. So he's like, right. It seems kind of weird that like, you know, to charge for it now, but he said, it worked out pretty cool. And I think it did sell some issues 2 and 3 and so on. And hopefully someone reading that, maybe they pick that up and they'll pick up the trade because they missed the other ones. Yeah. So on and so forth. So it's really kind of a cool initiative that Vault did for that. And again, I mentioned we should continue mentioning Unnatural Order was also done that way too. And you know, that's a wonderful. It was. Yeah. So but yeah, that's exciting. I'm excited for people to get the trade in their hand. It's really cool you know, thing coming up here. But you got other books that are coming out too. Outside of Kill All Immortals, which comes out in July at Dark Horse, and then The Shadow Midnight, which comes out this fall in October. What else are you working on right now? Is there anything else that we should just quickly get out of the way off top, or are you just focusing on these things?
It's the secrets, my friend. I have one book that's dropping any day now, to be honest. But that has to drop in its time and its place. Yep. But that's another very exciting new series that will be out this year that I'm very excited about. So I will have 4 different books out by the end of this year, which is a lot and a lot of fun. They're all super different, and I think they're all going to amaze and be a fun ride in different ways. And then I'm already working on comics for 2025. I mean, I'm already working on 4 or so different comics for next year. So nonstop. But
it's crazy. It's how fast the next year comes. Like, you know, we're here in May, and I do a lot of you know, comics, but I also do novel. You know, and stuff like that coverage. And I'm seeing like advanced copies of books that are coming out in January start hitting like my inbox and things like that. I'm like, what the heck? Like, what the hell is going on here? We're not even halfway through the year yet.
No, you don't even understand, Justin. I mean, guys, if I'm pitching a book right now to a publisher, it is possibly at this point in the game a late 25 book to even there's a scenario where it could be 26 because you know, when you pitch a book, it takes time to assess it and process it and contract it and put the team together and get the first issue ready and get the designs ready. And then once the artist, that's months and months and months. And once the artist goes, then that artist needs, you know, sometimes it's a year to complete, you know, 9 months to a year to complete, you know, 100 to 120 pages. It depends. And so, yeah, it all, and then you solicit ahead of time. So yeah, it all adds up to things I'm putting together now are definitely summer, fall, winter 25, or yeah, it's far out. It's so funny. But that's the way it works in comics.
But and then you can come up with issues or things. I mean, Kill All Immortals is out in July, but it wasn't originally, right? It was supposed to be another time.
So yeah, initially, why that's yeah, sure, absolutely. Kill All Immortals, which is my new action series from Dark Horse, was originally slated for February. We had brought in Jordi Belair. I had worked with Jordi on colors on Beyond Real, and you know, absolutely, she's amazing colorist. Yes. So I shared with her Kill All Immortals. She came on the project, but when it came time to actually start to work on it, Jordi had some things come up, and we really tried to make it work for, you know, several months. She really tried, we really tried, and at the end of the day, it just, you know, wasn't able to happen, and we were happy to say, you know, no worries. And
Mhm.
so I had worked with Thiago Rocha on The Midnight, which is my other book that comes out in October. Such an amazing, new, talented colorist. And so I just said, you know, would you like to check this book out? And he loved it. And so we brought him on to Kill All Immortals. But because we were making that change and kind of shifting on the creative, we wanted to give it time to truly come together. And so we needed to push it not just for a month or two. We needed to push it to the summer so that we could do it proper. And I feel that we really did it proper. It's a gorgeous looking book. It's really all come together. I think that I can appreciate that there's been a lot of excitement about the book, because I think, announced it last October or so, maybe around New York Comic Con. And so, you know, it's been on the map for a while. But no one is more excited than me to get it out and let fans truly see what we have in store for them.
It's funny because I like talk to people and I always say like, how exciting is it that now people have these in their hands and so on and so forth. And there's certain people who have like solicited for a couple of months, and then there's other people who have solicited like yourself for almost a year.
Yeah,
before it's
yeah, a long time. But I mean, now we've been finally revealing artwork,
yes.
And, you know, things like that, and being able to finally let people see how awesome it looks.
Yeah, and it's absolutely wonderful. What do you give for like an elevator pitch on the book for people? Like, how do you explain the book to people?
It's a secession family drama of immortal Vikings, modern day fighting John Wick style. So if you like secession meets John Wick with immortal Vikings, that's what this book is. It's about a family of Vikings. They're immortal. The only daughter in the family of three other brothers and her Viking father. She's not part of their cutthroat barbaric family business, and finally circumstances push her to want out of the family, so to speak, and to do so she's going to have to fight through her family and her bloodthirsty brothers and her father. And so it's very action driven, it's very violent and exciting. It's modern, it's stylish. It's drawn by Fico Ossio and colored by Thiago Rocha, and Hassan Osman Alauhau is our amazing letterer. Tom Moeller does an incredible graphic and design in the book. We've got some amazing cover artists, and yeah, it really it's my most action packed kind of book. I mean, it's still in the kind of sci-fi supernatural genre space, but it definitely brings it. Yeah.
The writing is wonderful. I mentioned off the top before we started recording that I absolutely loved it. I was able to read it twice this weekend, and the first issue at least, and it's phenomenal. And the your writing is wonderful. But let's be honest, the star of the show is Fico. I'm not gonna, like, you know, no offense to you at all, but like, I don't know how Fico was able to make me feel the movement in the pages. Like there's just like there's this, you know, I'm not gonna obviously spoil it for anybody, but there's a scene where you kind of like really meet who these people are, and you feel like I said, you mentioned John Wick. I felt like I was watching John Wick in single still image panels. It was phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it brings it. This series brings it. It's really it's noir and calm at one moment, and then it's aggressive at another moment. You know, if you like uh yeah, complex but violent, you know, it really brings it. And Fico is really good at that. I mean, the funny thing is the fight sequences only get better as this series goes on. Like they only continue to get more crazy and dynamic and John Wick in style. And he is really a master of bringing that velocity and that energy to a scene. And you know, it's a fight sequence, but you really can feel it. You can really feel it, and you can really see it take twists and turns and feel the energy, and it's exciting. It is really exciting. And Thiago Rocha, the coloring, it's just it's moody but intense and modern. They made a great team, and it's really some exciting visuals. The whole series has got a lot of amazing landscapes. You know, it kind of goes through lot of locales. It's kind of a bit globe-trotting, and they draw some really impressive stuff. So the first issue is really incredible, and it's also kind of the tip of the iceberg, which is really, really super cool.
You know, I want this issue to be in 3D. It's you know, like put like 3D
you can see
glasses
some of
on
those
it.
axes, those Viking
Yes.
weapons flying out at you. That would be, yeah.
That'd be intense, like a special, like, you know, limited edition. And the angles. It's not even just the actual the angles of the art and the angles of seeing these staturing people. You know, obviously you want to impose this strength and that angle, the lower angle of these towering people over you, drenched, you know, having blood in some scenes, and just I don't know, they just feel powerful, and that's big.
Yeah.
Where does a comic book like this come from? Like this is not simple as like I'm gonna tell a ghost story or I'm gonna tell a Viking story, I'm gonna tell a secession story. This is like, you know, or horror story. You're like, oh, let's take all of this and just like push it together and make something.
Justin,
Like, where
this
do
is
you
my thing. Like this is what I like to do. I like to take things and mash them up, you know, like you know, I like to sci-fi western, you know, or robots are boxing, you know, in an MMA style fight for equality. Like I like to take different subgenres and mash it up. But I think it's like there's something really interesting about the reflection of Vikings in our modern business world and how violent and barbaric they are. And I feel like as readers check this out, you aren't surprised by that
Mhm.
aspect in our modern world. You're kind of it's shocking, no doubt, but it's also like we're the conversation, you know, and the way people kind of handle conflict in our culture in the past 10 years or so feels like it is elevated so much. People are so much more aggressive
Mhm.
about handling things. And so I feel like these Vikings kind of feel like a real representation of how cutthroat we know that business and power are in our world. And so it seems like just such an interesting reflection, uh, you know, and kind of explores themes of power in our modern day. And then of course it's just badass to see Vikings
Yes.
in our modern world, and they still have the haircuts and the weapons,
Yeah.
but they're dressed in like high fashion. And Fico does a great job with the character designs of making them feel both modern but also making them feel Viking and barbaric, and making these modern moments feel very cinematic at times, but then very high octane at times. We
Mhm.
talked a lot about as we designed the layouts and designed the kind of style of the book. Fico is really a versatile artist. He did a series at Dark Horse called No One Left to Fight. It went 2 arcs, completely different style, super
Mhm.
colorful, super dynamic. I mean, I guess similar in terms of the high octane uh, velocity and kind of action of that series, but the look couldn't have been more different. And then he goes and does Mr. Miracle at DC or Action Comics. So you know, a lot of range. And
Mhm.
so because he had all that range, we talked about what this book was and the energy that it was bringing. And at times we wanted it to feel Fincher-esque and kind of cinematic, and then at other times we wanted it to feel like blood is spraying everywhere, like it's really aggressive, because that aggressiveness, it's not just also for our gore sake,
Yeah.
for like it's the intensity of this world is kind of what you feel, you know. So
You know, reading recent series of like there's blood for blood's sake, like just to make bloody things, but there's like purpose behind it, I think. And you mentioned cutthroat, and I'm like, I wanted to say right off the bat, there's no pun intended there at all, but there
no,
is.
yes,
But the funny thing is about these giant Viking people. It's like I wouldn't be surprised going into a business meeting with someone in a nice fitting suit, muscular, looks like they go to the gym every day,
right,
and to the point where like you could hide in plain sight in a sense that you were an immortal Viking, because there are people who dress like that nowadays. Like it's just like
that's true,
longer blonde hair, like nice, but like chiseled, and like walking into a business meeting, you're not like always seeing these nerdy people anymore. And it's
that's
like
true.
it's just kind of funny. I'm like, if you just saw this person walking down the street in a business suit, you just be like, it's just a business
It's
person.
just it's just a guy, just a trader or something, like he just works out a bunch. Yeah. Well,
uh,
and yeah, they're kind of invisible. You know, that's another kind of thing here. Like they're all powerful.
mhm.
They're immortal. They cannot die, so they just keep coming back to life. They're not vampires, they're not gods, they're just immortal, and we don't know why, and that's a mystery to the series. But they are kind of powerful businessmen lurking in the shadows, and kind of they have this massive billionaire empire. And yeah, I feel like there's something to that kind of invisibility where like the true wealthiest of the wealthiest and the most powerful in our society are invisible. They're like, we can't. And so, yeah, there's just a muscular Viking guy, but then they suddenly come out, and that shows itself, and it's like, oh wow, the intensity of it. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to write this series. A lot of fun to pull it together. Yeah, for sure.
And have you have the daughter? What's her name again?
Frey.
Frey. Frey. Frey is like this person who knows who her family is, but just doesn't want to be that much a part of it. But then gets forced back into it for a reason. You'll find out in the first issue. So it's cool to see that also, the position that you and the artwork and the coloring on it. It's like, when they're dark and being bloody to her in her life, and then going to Iceland, those kind of colors changed really well as well. Like you mentioned with Thiago's
there's different. The coloring brings out the different kind of layers to the series. From her is a more romantic and softer and removed energy, and their energy is a little more masculine. And then Iceland is a very sterile. When they come to their home in Iceland, it's a very sterile sort of place where you can sense that something is off. And yeah, she's a very interesting character for sure. I mean, she's the only daughter in this very masculine family. She is powerless, and she knows it. And she has chosen to exert her power by removing herself from their business. And she kind of has agreed to tolerate it. She's kind of raises money for charity, and she's trying to do altruistic things in the world as a way of offsetting the horrible things that she knows her family is doing. And even though this family is 1,000 years old, the irony is that there's still an evolution to their story, and you can sense that her position has worked for her, but now we're in modern times, and there's something that's not working anymore. And so she's she's immortal, family's immortal. And how do you stand up against that? And how do you make choices about your life and your place in the world, and the impact that you have? It's a really kind of complex, I think, story. And so that's, I think, what's really exciting is I think people are going to pick up this book because Vikings in suits fighting it with axes is just cool and fun, and the visuals are great. But then when you get to this character story, it is really, you really feel for this young woman, and you really don't know. You want her to succeed and find her path, but you don't know how she's going to do that. How is she going to stand up to this family?
And it proves you can't really choose who your family is. Like,
yeah,
you can choose who your friends are and things like that, but like in the end, if you have such a powerful family like this, they cause so much problems. It's like it's inevitably going to come back and get you. And like you said, like, I'm not going to spoil anything on why, but like she now has to be reunited with this family, and her distance is now closer because
and
of stuff.
It's more complex on the kind of like, there's evil in the world and you have to stand up to it, and it's okay, fine, sure, there's good and there's evil, and they're bad and she's good, but is it so simple? And they're immortal, so is it so simple as just standing up to them? And like, how do you stand up to something that does not stop, that does not end, that does not die? Which then again brings in this kind of theme about power and the billionaire class in our world, and how kind of we can see all the things that are wrong with a very few controlling most of our world and exerting power in this way. But what are you to do to stop it? It feels immortal. It feels like it will not stop. It is not just a single person that is the issue. And so I think that's kind of the very complex dilemma that she faces. And it's a very interesting journey. We're really hoping the kind of, I think, one of the inspiring touchstones has been a character like Erica Slaughter that's emerged in recent years, and kind of seeing that an action heroine can not just kick ass, but that can have a really interesting character story and journey as well. And so, I think that I think that readers will really be enjoy Frey's story in that regard.
Yeah, and you can tell that she wants to be her own person, but she also still is a badass. Like she's
Yeah,
still like she's got the half sleeve tattoos, and she's definitely
she's a
someone who,
Viking. Yeah,
yes,
she's
she
a
could kick
Viking.
someone's ass, but like she
Yes,
also doesn't really want to. You know what I mean? Like she
right.
can do it if she needs to, but she doesn't really want to do that, and she'd rather be separated if possible. But like push comes to sub, she's gonna kick your ass. Sorry, guys.
It's a little John Wick, right? It's a little
Yes,
John Wick. Don't make me do it. Yeah.
just don't kill his dog and
Yeah,
steal
the
his
only
car.
difference is, yeah, she's in a family of John Wick, so it's like she can take care of the mercenaries and that this and that. But like, what do you do when when your brothers are all John Wicks and your dad's John Wick, and you don't want to be a John Wick, but now, yeah,
You're a
it's a
Jane
good
Wick. No,
it's a fun setup. It's a really
it
fun
is
setup.
fun. It's
Yeah,
fun, and it's brought together. Like I said, your writing and your story behind it, it's wonderful. I did write a note down last night when I was reading that I don't think that many comics had me hooked on issue one in 2024 so far as much as this one did. And it's not just because you're
thank
coming on. I
you.
literally put it down and I was like, holy crap. Like most of them are get through. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Let's see how the series goes. And as the series progresses for a lot of these comics, I'm like, oh, these are phenomenal. Like this is great. You know, there's some good books out there this year. But like I don't know, something about this. I don't know if it was a mixture of all those things you mentioned, you know, the Vikings, the secession part, the John Wick part. If all of that together just makes me go, oh, I can't wait to see where this goes. But yeah, it was that. But also the artwork, like I mentioned, is
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah, the
Uh,
artwork is stunning too.
but Hassan's lettering, I don't know if I just noticed it more in this book than others that Hassan is lettered, but like the little bubbles that are attached to each other.
Yeah,
I feel like I haven't seen that much in many comics where it's like it's not one big speech bubble. It's like broken, and it's way I don't know if it's way that like someone says a sentence, you know,
I
like
write a lot. I do actually write in my scripts a lot of ellipses dialogue
okay,
that segments out, and so someone will say something, but then say something else, and it divides. And I do a lot of that. But I also do a lot of that. I've worked with Hassan now a lot,
okay,
and Hassan is the best letterer in the business. I'm so excited to see him nominated for an Eisner Award
yes.
finally for the first time.
Mhm.
Hassan deserves to win that and win it for years.
How is it
He is
possible that this is the
amazing.
first Eisner nomination?
It is amazing, but he is amazing. He did amazing lettering in Mindset,
Yeah,
amazing lettering in Beyond Real. I worked on with Hassan on Join the Future back a few years ago, and yeah, the lettering here is really you know, just it works. He understands how to navigate Fico's artwork and take you through these really exciting layouts and make it really easy to read, and he has all sorts of really nuanced techniques that just pop up very subtly, but if you actually look at them you're like, oh wow, what an interesting choice on the sound effect or on the tails, you know,
yep.
and there'll be little squiggles and moments that just personify how the character is feeling at that moment, so it's very emotive. You know, it all came together really really beautifully.
It does because I feel like sometimes find myself just like you know robotically reading a comic book where it's like bubble to bubble to bubble, and I'm just like, okay, here you go. But I felt like that movement. I felt like it's a flowing thing, and then again with the artwork having that movement, I felt like felt very cinematic.
Yeah,
In a sense, which again has that John Wick feel, and on that we mentioned before. But yeah, there's something about it, and something about a complete team like this, like having that everything, having, and you've been lucky enough with some of these books that you've done to have like a team that hasn't had this like one yeah, that person was
no weak
good.
links, no weak
Yeah, but
links.
you're over here saying, yeah, everybody was great, but internally you're like, yeah, okay, we
No,
gave you.
yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, the book has really been effortless. Dark Horse has been extremely amazing to work with. I work with the same editors that I did Breakout and the Midnight Shadows, which
Okay.
is Spencer Cushing and Connor Knudsen, and they're fantastic, and we're a well-oiled machine, and it's been a very seamless but you know, passionate experience to bring this world to life. I think that yeah, the world of immortal Vikings modern day. It's like all these things that people love. People love stories about immortality. People love Vikings, you know, people love modern, you know, action like John Wick, and then to like pull it all together. It's a crazy idea, but it all really came together. So
Well, I think part of it is one of the things I look for in comic books nowadays. If people ask me what I'm looking for is something different and unique. This
yeah,
isn't your normal. Like you could easily have just told this story of, you know, brutal business people who use their power, more of a mob scene thing, or that they physically abuse people or hurt people to get things that they want. But adding the Viking, or even they could be immortal.
Yeah,
it's possible for you and I to be immortal right now and be talking on
we
here.
wouldn't know. Yeah,
we wouldn't have to be Vikings, because at some point someone had to be
Justin, can I tell now? Everybody listen. The truth is, I am immortal. I am
Don't
immortal.
tell people.
I'm not supposed to tell people. Oh.
But no, the idea that like Vikings is it just adds a whole other element to it that's not necessary but fun. And I think that's the cool difference, I think, in here. And I think there's a difference between one of my favorite comic books of the past couple of years is A Legacy of Violence from Cullen Bunn, and that was a straightforward horror. Like it was like it felt like you could be living in this horrible world, that this actually could happen. And then there's the supernatural parts of books, like Something's Killing the Children or whatever. And the same thing with this is like this one thing. It's like this could be real if they weren't immortal Vikings. But
I think
they're immortal Vikings, so it makes it unrealistic.
The real trick is to make sure that the story is really simple and stands alone on its own. And at the core, this is a family power drama. Like you have a family and you have the daughter that doesn't want to be a part of it. So in that way, it's Godfather. It's, it's just something that's so timeless that we know all too well about a family at war with itself. It's Succession. I mean, this was an amazing show because at the core, it was a family at war with itself. And so this is a family at war with itself. This is a daughter in a very masculine family. We immediately empathize with the dilemma that she faces. She has ideals, she has values. She does not want to be a part of this, but she is stuck. And we get that, but we've seen that. So how do you make that different? And I don't know that we've seen immortal Vikings as billionaires. And so that's the fun world that we get to step into. And then we try to service each of those things to make sure they're authentic, to make sure that it really does feel like they're Vikings, to make sure it really does feel like they are billionaires, and that wealth and that lavish lifestyle and that privacy is all really there. And they talk like that. And
I think if it ever gets optioned for a TV show, I feel like what they need to do is like Vikings, the TV show, is like the first half of a season, and then the second half of the season is just Succession. So like you have to learn how they became immortal and all that stuff. But it's like full on Viking era, like
if I were going to, if I had to pitch this as a TV show and use like images, I would be using images from those two shows. It would be like, here's the Vikings TV show, here's Succession's TV show. Like now imagine them together. Like,
or maybe you could do like flashbacks in it too, would be kind of cool. Or it's a cool, like I said, it has this, like, I don't know, there's just so much to it that a prequel series wouldn't be out of the out of the question. Like a one shot telling you how they got
I don't think I'm going to spoil anything by telling you that we actually have a couple flashbacks in this series. So
which makes sense. It only makes sense to do that,
this family's been alive for 1,000 years. We actually do have a couple flashbacks where we get to go back to see the family struggle in the past. So and
they've been wearing suits their entire time. You'd have no idea.
They were how did they have that Armani suit? Because it's time travel too. That's the other thing that comes. No, it's not.
No, this is actually an offshoot of Beyond Real. You didn't know that. It's just like different dimensions and things. Yeah, don't worry about it, guys. No, it's a phenomenal series. Like I mentioned, it has this difference to it that I don't know. It just stood out to me. I mean, obviously, you tend to like to read things by writers you like, and I'm a fan of your writing, so that helps. And then when you open the pages up and you see the visuals that match your writing, I'm like, okay, cool. This is awesome. I'm going to enjoy that.
I'll tell you, I was a little nervous to take this one on, to be honest with you. I mean, a lot of the things I've done are sci-fi, and they're different. And I mean, I wanted to do it. For sure. I mean, I was excited to do it, but as I was starting to put this story together at the very beginning, being so action oriented and being just a little bit different, I was nervous, but by the time that the art started to come together and we started to pull it all together, I started to feel like, okay, this is really, we got something here. So, yeah,
I mean, I liked issue 1. I mean, it could all go downhill from here, Zach.
That's
I have no idea.
Issue
You're right.
2 is terrible. Issue 2 is. I'll send it to you. Issue 2 is terrible.
It's terrible, horrible.
Yeah. Dico drew stick figures, and
the
Hassan,
budget
like,
got cut completely. They guess
yeah,
pushed it too far out, and now there's no
yeah,
color. Tiago only
yeah.
did the first
I
issue.
lettered it. Hassan doesn't letter it. I lettered it. And it's just like boxes, and I couldn't fit them all in. So like I have that thing that you do in like kindergarten where you're like, the word comes over here. Like, I want to fight
There's
you.
there's a local place. I'm not going to call it out on here, but a new restaurant who looks like they put up a big sign on the side of their building that was painted, and it was like looks like someone didn't like do the spacing correctly. So like the last word is like really squished towards the end, and I'm just like, oh
That would
god.
be how I would letter.
Like, and
Yes.
that's why you have someone like a son. It still baffles me that this is his
Yeah.
first Eisner. You actually honestly also baffled me about their Eisner nominations that Tim Seeley didn't have a nomination before now either.
Oh yeah.
I would have thought I would have sworn that Tim had a nomination. He's like, no, my first one. And I'm like, wait, what a second, huh? And so yeah, it's fascinating to
Yeah.
me about that. But yeah,
You know, there's a lot more that goes into it. Just like all these award stuff, you know, who knows? Who knows what goes
well,
into
local man has less, people in bikinis and murdering people and all that stuff. So maybe
maybe
that's
that's
why
it. Yeah, that was acceptable. I don't know. But yeah,
it was
yeah,
acceptable enough.
another very deserving creator for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I always love the cover. My buddy over there, David Harper over at sketch.com got a nomination too. So
Amazing.
hell
Yeah.
yeah for David. Yeah.
And I
So
loved
pumped.
his, yeah, he's been really on top of it. And I loved the James Tynan series that he did over the
Yes.
past
Yes.
year. It's
Yes.
great.
Phenomenal. So I'm really, but the thing is though, and this comes out in June, so we'll know. I think by the time this comes out, we might actually know. But my Celtics are pacing his Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals in the NBA. So like, go Celtics. Screw the Pacers. No, I'm just kidding.
Fair enough.
Hopefully, I don't like shoot myself in the foot here, but then they find out they get swept by the Pacers by the time this releases.
You'll
And
know.
I feel like an idiot now, but no. But yeah, this is different. You mentioned, but like, what about your other series at Dark Horse now? Or the series book that's coming out at Dark Horse? I feel like that's different than this book.
Yeah, that's the Midnight Shadows is different too, for sure.
But like, I'll tell you about this book again. I want to mention the artwork. Do you have two artists on this one, correct?
We do. Yes, we have Stephen Thompson and Janoy Lindsay, and I can
Okay.
talk about why we have two different art styles. But there are
Yes.
two different artists on issue one, and then Stephen Thompson takes over most of the series until the very end. Yeah.
But I will say, I again about the artwork because obviously, in this one especially, because I mean, if you think about it, you get me some of the first chapter. There's like some quote unquote writing, scripting in the first page and a half, but most of it's just visual parts to it. But the second page or the first 2-page spread on that,
Yes.
I stared at that for 20 minutes, probably.
Yeah. It's
so
it's
detailed.
online. It's online. It's a
Okay.
post-apocalyptic mall.
Yes.
And these kind of cyberpunk soldiers have landed in their spaceship, and they're coming into this post-apocalyptic 80s 90s style mall, and the level of detail in this,
Holy smokes.
it is amazing. It is amazing. And to be honest, that is the taste that is the proper taste of this series, because the number of locations that have that level of detail, this series will blow your mind in terms of like double page spreads of amazingly detailed. There's so many double page spreads of amazing detailed landscapes and locations like this one. It's really breathtaking. Stephen Thompson and Thiago Rocha just do an incredible job in that world. And yeah, it's a gorgeous book. Gorgeous book.
It is. I wanted to mention that off the top, but let's back up a little bit and say so Midnight, it's the
Yes.
Midnight Shadows. So the Midnight is what? You explain to people
The
who don't know who
Midnight, the Midnight
is.
is one of the largest synthwave bands in the world. They have 1 million listeners or roughly on Spotify. They tour from India to Australia, from Europe to here in the States. They've been around for, I want to say, about 8 years now, and just some really incredible poetic synth music and synthwave for people who are like, well, wait a minute, what's a synthwave? Like it's kind of this electronic rock sort of kind of combination that comes out of these touch tones from the 80s or 90s, and kind of, very indicative of Tron kind of music and a lot of cinematic soundtracks that came from the 80s and 90s. But the music is far more than just that, and it's really fantastic storytelling in the music, and that was what drew me to their music. Is it's really just a very aesthetically driven. All their album covers and everything have this really strong presence. And I had been a big fan for years. It was also coincidence that I happened to know the lead singer prior to this band being formed. And so we had conversations about a collaboration, and it finally came to be. And we talked about, this is a story that is kind of, the best word I can describe is it's a reflection of the music, which is to say the series entirely stands alone. It's not like we took the band and they like transport to like, like, hey, it's not like Bill and Ted's here. Like it's a completely different original story. You could read it without ever having listened to or know about the Midnight. I think if you like my comics, you'll absolutely love it. It's thought provoking. It's action adventure. It's got fantastic character, journey, and it's beautiful to look at, and it's really but it reflects this music, and it reflects kind of the themes that they sing about. They sing a lot about nostalgia, a lot about growing up, and kind of losing yourself, and kind of indulging in fantasies versus kind of accepting responsibility in life, and yeah, and falling in love, and all these kinds of really themes that we took and then kind of put into the story.
It's cool too. And you mentioned this two artists in the first, chapter you sent me. There was this, 1999 versus 2108 style artwork, which is really cool. I love that when people do that. It's very simple for you. Oh, we're going back in time, and it's the same artist. You're like, you don't have the same feel when it had that different in art style. So drastic. You can be like, okay, you don't have to tell me at the top. You have to tell me once this is 1999, but you don't have to tell me every single time the page turns that's where year we're in, because the artwork speaks for itself.
Yeah, that's right. So the premise of this book is that you have a young man who is on the precipice of fatherhood. He's expecting his first child, and with it comes all these feelings about fate, losing his own adolescence, and what this future means for him. And I think anybody who's had children can relate to that bridge for sure. And in the process of cleaning up his childhood things, he finds a video game from his past, the Midnight game. And he ends up trying to get it repaired, and he gets sucked into the game, which is very Tron you would think at the beginning. But here's the twist. The twist is he gets into this video game world, and they tell him that he is actually the character from that game. And the game world is actually real life. 2108, the future world is real. And this life that he's been living, this ordinary suburban working as a mechanic life, that was a game, that was a dream, that was something else. This is real life. He doesn't know which is real, and so he is forced to kind of figure that out and confront the fact that he's in this game world with its own antagonists. And so to reflect those two different worlds, we have two different artists drawing. Janoy Lindsay draws the, let's call it the ordinary world, which is kind of feels, Janoy has a very kind of light feel to his he draws Superboy over at DC, and so he really has a way of capturing kind of a heartfelt kind of nature. It feels really kind of just light. And then Stephen Thompson draws this far more noir post-apocalyptic world that is very different. They're very different worlds, and so that really kind of lends to this mystery of what's real and what's not real. And you see this character kind of translated into two different forms, and he doesn't know which one, which is his reality. So that was kind of the fun impetus of working with these two different artists. Jago colors both of them, but in two completely different coloring styles.
So it's like your blue is your pinks, your blacks, your car in one side, and then you have like your orangey, like I don't know, like sun drenched other side of it is great, just phenomenal.
Sun drenched, yes, that's right. Yeah,
it's like it just has to feel like I said. I love when you don't have to work. One of the things about comic books, I think that's much different than some other mediums, is that you don't have to work so hard at it. Like if the author, the artists, the colorists, and the letterers all do their jobs, so you just have to flow through the book. And I feel like there's like I read a lot of novels too, and sometimes you're like, you have to do so half the work. You have to visualize things sometimes, and sometimes they have to tell you, or you lose. Like if I'm reading a book that has multiple character viewpoints in it, I'm always like, who is this again? You know, the
Right.
comic book, it's you can visually see it, and that's one of the things I think about it is that I didn't have to work. I just immediately went to that page and go, oh, I know where we are
Yeah,
now. I know
here's
what's going
yeah.
on. Yeah, and that's good. And some people can do it. Some that you, I'm sure both these artists could have done it on their own. They're not saying that they couldn't have done it. It's just sometimes nice to be able to say, you draw your way, you draw your way, and we'll make it all into one comic book.
Yeah. Yeah, but I felt like they have different strengths as artists,
Yes.
and their strengths are accentuated by the worlds that they're drawing and the styles in which they're drawing.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously from Beyond Real, I'm a big fan of finding artists and giving them something to draw that is in their that accentuates their art. I don't want to challenge an artist in their style. I want to
Yeah.
support their style and challenge them in what they're drawing, not the style. So yeah.
Yeah, you don't like working with different artists at all. It's not, you know.
I work with a lot of different, yeah.
I will say too, one of my favorite things about this new book too is your letterer. We mentioned Hassan, but like I'm
Oh,
a big
DC
fan of DC
Hopkins, yeah.
Hopkins. And guess what? One of my favorite lettered pages of all times is it's common for people is his book three or number three of Noctera, where there's a tractor trailer truck driving, and he writes "room" on the side of it. And we get one of those in this book. We get a very
Yes.
similar thing, which is phenomenal to me. It's not overdoing it, not anything. I'm just like, I turn the page and I'm like, hell yeah, go
Yeah,
DC Hopkins.
there's a lot of that too. He does a great job with the effects and the lettering, sound
Yeah.
effects and things like that. And there's a lot of that because the premise of this is kind of that he enters a game world.
Yeah.
He's the hero of the game, and so he is supposed to have superpowers, and he's supposed to be fighting monsters in this world. And so uh I'm not going to spoil too much,
Yeah.
but there are with that premise comes inherent a lot of fun opportunities for the lettering to show off those effects and those rooms and those things. And yeah, DC does a great job. It's a great team for sure.
And I will say, like, we live in a world right now where nostalgia is a huge thing, and I think that this tickles that fancy. Like, it's not straight up like I'm writing a book for nostalgic sake, but like this
No,
book has that. If you're looking for something nostalgic, this will tickle that fancy. If that makes any sense.
yeah, but it's also, I mean, this is indicative of the Midnight and the lyrics and the themes that they sing about. They sing about nostalgia, and sometimes they have songs that sing about nostalgia in a very fantasized, idealistic way. And sometimes they sing about nostalgia in how it limits us and how it
Mhm.
prevents us from engaging in the modern world. And it is a two-sided thing. There is benefits and drawbacks to nostalgia. And I think that complexity and that duality is really fun and important to explore. I think that it like to just criticize nostalgia or just to embrace nostalgia becomes kind of one-sided. And so I really think that this is a kind of a fun experience because we're trying to kind of explore nostalgia, explore and specifically nostalgia for the 80s and the 90s and the kind of video game craze, mall
Yep.
hangout kind of culture when I think before we had internet, social media, but we had some technology emerging. And anyone who grew up in the 80s and the 90s or who has connected with that era will feel there we have a sense of nostalgia for something that felt a little more innocent at that
Mhm.
time, and we were a little more disconnected and a little more excited about what the technology was bringing. Technology was kind of purely positive,
Yeah.
and we were like, ooh, games, ooh, computers, like, ooh, all these things, they're going to change our lives. They're all for the better. And now we're aware of the benefits and the drawbacks. So that there's a real kind of identity to the
Yes.
feelings that we had in the 80s and the 90s, and this is kind of an exploration of that. And it's interesting because it kind of perfectly connects to the main character's journey about facing his childhood
Mhm.
versus adulthood, and kind of as you go into adulthood, the things that you kind of have to understand and change about your perceptions about the world, and understanding the duality of the world. So yeah, it's a really interesting character journey, and I think it's something that a lot of people, especially who who maybe know of the 80s and 90s, will relate to.
It's funny is I don't like the fact that like I'm trying to figure out like my son's 3. I'm like, what is he gonna be nostalgic about now? Like I don't
Oh man.
like it's not like I could like I was born in '86, so I know again I was 4 years old when the '90s happened, but like I know that stuff. I remember that stuff. I remember playing NES and I remember those things and seeing the nostalgic things, watching things like that '90s show to me resonates in a way that I'm trying to figure out. Like my son watches a show about the year he was born. I'm like, what classic cars are going to be out there? A Kia Sportage. Like, what's like what is going on right now? I have no idea. Like, I don't want to think about it. So me being nostalgic and thinking backwards is great, but it's not over the top, and that's what I like about it too. It's not just in your face. There's a reasoning behind it. This is
You
not
don't know. We won't
nostalgic for
know
nostalgic
we won't know what we're nostalgic about until we've lost it. That's the crazy thing. You only realize what you miss until it's gone. And whether it's driving our own cars or folding our own laundry or writing our own emails instead of dictating them to AI, we won't know until we are on the other side of that and we've lost it. And then we have a generation that says drive, like your car, drive. Why would you drive? Like, why do you need a car that you can drive or something like that, that you kind of, then you become nostalgic for that era. And so, I think there was, going to the mall and losing yourself in an arcade. I don't know if people still do that. I'm sure they do, but
there's an arcade in our town, in the town that my office is in, and that's just opened. I don't know, 6 months ago. But then
I hope it's not like a throwback thing where it's like experience the 80s and 90s, like Marty McFly going back to like do Duck Hunt or something like that.
I'm glad you said Marty McFly because I was just thinking about that line from the movie where he's like, and it's actually what's his name from Lord of the Rings. What's the actor's name? But it's him, and he goes, "You have to use your hands to play the video game." And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, that's actually kind of funny because I can picture someone saying that like years from now, being like, "You have to use your hands." Like no, VR is the only thing.
It'll be VR. It'll be like you have to use your eyes. Like this is on a screen. Weird.
This is ridiculous. What? This is stupid. I don't want this anymore.
Stupid.
But I know it's one of those things.
Like you have to use a controller and you don't use your hands and your VR.
Which is funny because you kind of went like this because it wasn't there for a while there. Like the Wii, as an example. Like, but then there was like the Xbox, like the thing that you could just like play video games without doing anything, and then that kind of went away for a little while. And then VR came in, and so like it's weird how we like have the cycles of things like that too, though. Like
the cycles are us just finding it. Like I kind of feel like humanity doesn't just know where it's going. We write where we're going. We discover as a collective where we are going. Like we know we're going towards robots. Like who are we kidding? Have you seen all the reels about robots and stuff? Like they always show up. I'm a robot person, so I see nothing about reels of robots walking and doing flips and talking to people and doing all this stuff. Like we've written it. We've written our own fate forward. And so if we're surprised when we get there, like everyone, I don't know, like I think we're
Terminator?
surprised. I don't know. Well,
AI and Terminator. Has anybody not seen Terminator?
Yeah.
Come on, people.
We're all kind of like, what are we doing here? I don't know if it'll get that dark, but I don't think that there's any question that AI and robots and things like this, flying cars, like who are we kidding? Like, of course, there one day will be flying cars everywhere. Is it 50 years or 200 years from now? I can't say, but of course that's going to happen. And this is, and
that's what we're nostalgic about, though, is that 1980s films thought it was like going to be like 10 years from now. So
we
now understand that it likely will be 50 years or plus from here. We're not writing movies about the future and it being like 10
I
years
have Waymo cars driving around Los Angeles and there's no one in these cars, and they're just driving around and you're like, what
did I just watch? I just watched Good Burger 2. I don't know why, but I watched Good Burger 2, and part of that they have like robots that serve your food in a self-driving car that drives you away. So like that we wrote that into a Good Burger movie. Let's go, people.
Yeah. But look, this is the like, it's very easy for us to say like we missed this one thing. The thing you miss is beautiful and had its positives. The thing we gain can also be beautiful. There can be drawbacks. It's so complex, and I think
Yeah.
that looking at the world through rose-colored glasses or in one two-dimensional perspective is where we really go off the rails. And I
Yeah.
think that um, this is a story about two worlds and which way to view the world, and it's about a character who is torn between them. And so it is all very kind of relatable as we face technology, coming towards us. I think that readers are really going to connect to the story. Not to mention, I mean, like, again, at the end of the day, in the same way that Kill All Immortals also just kicks ass because it is immortal Vikings
Yes.
fighting, what you don't see a ton in this first chapter, but the Midnight Shadows will come out as a full graphic novel experience in October. It's not issue to issue, and the whole thing is actually also action packed. It's got a
Yeah.
ton of exciting action, really amazingly drawn, and I think that when readers start to see more of that revealed, either through previews or just even when it hits shelves and it gets experienced, it's quite an amazing ride. Some of the action sequences in the Midnight are very impressive too. So
And let's mention quickly too, the cover by Raymond Swanland
yeah,
too is going to
yeah,
draw people in as on its own too. It has its own like
amazing
cool
cover.
feel to it. Yeah.
Raymond Swanland did a cover for us, and then there's a deluxe version of this book as well by a cover artist that is done a ton of work for music and has done a ton of work for the Midnight, and his name's David Legnon, and that cover is amazing in a completely different way. But two really amazing covers for this book. Yeah, but that Raymond Swanland cover is really dynamic and impressive, and draws you in with the eyes up there, and then this fantastic city, and then you got this guy with this like cyberpunk helmet and his cool car. It's like, if you like Blade Runner and Tron and all of this kind of futuristic cyberpunk sort of stories, you will love this book.
It's one of those things that I don't know. And again, I think this has this who you are, like, you know what I mean? Like being a fan of your writing drew me to this, that I don't know outside of, following your writing, whether or not this would have been one that would have jumped off the shelf to me until I saw the cover. Like we had mentioned this a while back about doing this. And I was like, oh, when I saw the cover, I was like, okay, I can see that. And then I read that. I was like, okay, I definitely am down for this book to come out. And I'm loving the multiple covers thing, because I feel like this is a new trend, which I'm happy about in comics, where there's like, direct exclusive kind of things. I've seen like the Universal Monsters hardcover, just the Dracula just came out this past week as of recording this, and it came out with like a Boom regular cover and then like the Boom limited.
Yeah,
and it's pretty cool. I was like, that's pretty cool, because I think that we are going into a trend that I think there's gonna be more involved into trade paperbacks.
The deluxe cover of the Midnight has a whole ton of like added content as well.
Yeah.
So there's like it's a deluxe experience with a lot of making of, for sure.
Which is cool, because it's a different option. If you're a big fan of either your writing, the artwork, or the Midnight, the band, then you have reasons to buy this extra thing. And I just got an email today about like Mark Russell's Traveling to Mars is getting a Kickstarter campaign for their hardcover exclusive big thing. So like, I just feel like there's more going into trades and graphic novels and things like that nowadays, which is awesome, because I think there is something to be said about a nice hardcover or a nice deluxe option. But also, I think you need to have it approachable. So if you have the regular, I just want to read the comic, I don't care about all the extra stuff version of it, which is great too, because that's sometimes, sometimes if you don't have a price range that matches with someone's wallet, they just don't read it, and that's or they steal it. And we don't want either one of those. So
yeah, the trade paperback of this book is $20. It's standard.
Yeah, 19.99 normal standard trade paperback size, and it's you're I think it's 136, 140 pages. So it's a normal cost for that thing. And I'm guessing the deluxe will have, I mean, I'm sure the deluxe isn't going to be more than $10 more. No, it's probably going to be like $20.99.
No, the deluxe is got a lot more. I think the deluxe is like $60 or something.
Oh, okay.
Like that.
So it has a lot more. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's larger format. It's bigger. It's not just a hardcover. It's not just a hardcover book, because they do hardcovers that are like 30 that are just like the trade, but they're just hardcover, but they're the same size. The deluxe is oversized. It's got a ton of bonus material. I think it comes with extra prints. You can go to the Midnight. It's only available through the Midnight's website, and you can Google that and go to their website. And then they have like tie-ins where if you're a fan of the Midnight, you like vinyl. They sell like vinyl with the deluxe. So no, the deluxe is like a very premium sort of kind of experience to really get a lot of expansion into it for someone who really wants a more immersive experience. You know, if you just want to read the series, the trade is the way to go. It's got the amazing Raymond Swanland cover, and yeah.
What's amazing about this is that the Midnight is a band, right? They're synthwave. They play all over the world, all this stuff. And if you go to their website right now, Zach, their homepage featured art thing is the book.
Yeah.
See? You're making waves here. Synth waves.
Let me tell you, they dropped that book. We were blown away by the response. The amount of orders and excitement that they had around that book was something else for sure. So it's been really amazing to watch. They have an amazing fan community, and they went really they were very excited for it. And I'm really excited for comic readers who do not know the Midnight to check this out, because I think that it's an amazing graphic novel. You're going to love it. And you probably afterwards are going to go listen to the Midnight music and go like, oh, wow, this is what this is about. And so it'll be a love fest all around. But yeah.
Well, I could just picture like reading the book, getting it all in, taking it all in, and then just like going through and like skimming through the book while the Midnight's playing on in the background, kind of like just getting this, like just looking at the imagery of the book and just listening to the music. I could picture that happening too. And now I don't know which cover I like better. You suck.
Oh, you saw the other one, yeah.
Oh
yeah.
God, it's just great. Again, it's that similar feel to that 2-page spread mall.
Yeah,
and then it's got he's holding a flashlight, and it's just, I don't know, there's something about it. And it comes with their website also comes with a print. I don't know if you mentioned that. I didn't hear if you mentioned that, but
it does, yeah.
The print that's also signed. Who signed it?
I think the band will sign it, and
yeah, I don't know. Maybe you'll sign it.
I might sign it.
Maybe you'll sign their music now. You're now part of the band. No, so Kill All Immortals is coming in July.
Kill All Immortals is coming July 10th, so just a few weeks away. The Midnight Shadows is on pre-order, so if you like what you hear about it, you should definitely pre-order it from your comic shop. Tell them you want the graphic novel. That is out October 1st. And yeah, both Dark Horse books.
But quickly, was Dark Horse just, you like working with Dark Horse, or how did that
I love working with Dark Horse, and yeah, it's just I mean, after Breakout, I had such a great experience with Breakout. I just ended up bringing them both of these projects, and they were excited about both. And yeah, make great books with great people, great publishers. I got a good thing going on with Dark Horse, and we're killing it. So yeah,
I love Dark Horse, so that's a good thing. It's awesome. Yeah, killing it. Cutthroat, killing it. So Kill All Immortals is great. Also, Beyond Real, last few issues is coming out. And then check the trade out this summer, August 21st.
Yeah, I imagine we're in just the closing round of pre-orders for the graphic novel as well. So if you want to get the graphic novel for Beyond Real, I recommend letting your shop know as well. And then my newest book will be dropping any day now, so I would keep your eyes peeled for that.
Keep your eyes. So you follow. You're on social media and stuff like that as well. Yes. So, yeah, I appreciate you taking the time out, Zach, and come back on here and talking comics and all that stuff. It's great. Two amazing books coming too, so they're amazing. And also, if anybody wants to check out Mindset too, that's one of my favorites. So check that out there too. It's available in trade as well.
Little Mind Control, David Fincher-esque thriller. Yeah, it just came out a year or so ago. So. Justin, I'll have to send you a little more, both of Kill Immortals and Midnight. I think I have some coming, so I'll send you some.
Yeah, of course. We're always willing. I'm always willing to read that stuff. And yeah, but thank you so much for taking some time out. Hopefully weather is more steady over in California. But enjoy the rest of your day, man. Okay.
Thank you.